So we're going here in Unit 2. I want you to click on our Chapter 2 notes. And we're going to go over these notes today. And make sure that we understand what paraphrasing is and how to do it. So we're going to start by looking at page 2 to begin with. And it says, in this course and in other courses in your college career, you are going to be using people's ideas, which are found in articles and textbooks and videos and other sources in a variety of ways. Sometimes you will be asked to explain these ideas. Sometimes you're going to be asked to respond to ideas, or sometimes you'll be using them to craft and support your own argument. There are 2 ways in which you can introduce or use other people's ideas in your own writing. We do that through quoting and through paraphrasing. To quote means that you use the author's exact words. So you copy their idea word for word and you use it in your own writing. Paraphrase is the other kind of way that we can use other people's ideas in our writing. And paraphrase means that we're going to put it in our own words. Now, if we don't quote or we don't paraphrase and we pull ideas over and use them in your writing assignment and they're not quoted or paraphrased, then that can be considered plagiarism. And we talked a little bit about plagiarism last week too. So we want to make sure that we know how to, especially how to paraphrase for this next assignment, because you're going to be writing a summary of the article, Vulnerability is a Secret Superpower. So when we write a summary, when we're summarizing, we never use direct quotations. We don't put quotation marks in a summary. In a summary, you're paraphrasing. You're going to be writing out the author's ideas in your own words. So we can look at examples here of a quote and a paraphrase. In a quote, we see it says, Nicole Paher points out in How to Have a Healthy Relationship with Social Media in 2021 that social media is driving wedges between family and friends over differing political views, keeping us glued to our phones all day long and causing some to develop self-esteem issues from comparing their lives to other people's virtual ones. That is a direct quote. Everything that's inside these quotation marks, from driving wedges between family and friends all the way to the end of the sentence, came from Nicole Paher's article, How to Have a Healthy Relationship with Social Media in 2021. So when we use a quote, we're copying and pasting a part of the article or something the author said, and we're using it in our own writing. Paraphrasing is different. Paraphrasing is when you take whatever the direct quote is and you put it in your own words. So we see an example of paraphrasing here. In the article, or in How to Have a Healthy Relationship with Social Media in 2021, Nicole Paher suggests that social media causes us to stare at our phones 24/7. So social media causes us to stare at our phones 24/7 is just another way of saying keeping us glued to our phones all day long. Social media causes us to argue with our loved ones over politics. That's the same thing as saying driving a wedge between family and friends over differing political views. And then here, and even have problems with self-confidence because we compare ourselves to others' online selves. That section is the same thing as saying causing some people to develop self-esteem issues from comparing their lives to other people's virtual ones. So you can notice that both the quotation and the paraphrase, they both give credit to the author. So they say who the author is, and they give the source where it came from. And it introduces the idea that the author presented. But they are different in sentence structure, grammar, and vocabulary. We use quotes when an author says something in such a way that it's more powerful to pull and copy and paste that phrase directly to our writing. But we don't want to just quote. Sometimes if we use too many quotes, why we might want to paraphrase instead of quote is an essay full of quotations can be repetitive and boring. Using both quotations and paraphrases adds variety and interest to your writing. Paraphrasing allows you to select just the most relevant information in your essay, and it helps you to avoid excessive detail. When used in conjunction with a quotation, paraphrasing shows the reader your interpretation of the ideas. Paraphrasing also lets your reader see that you understand the ideas, because the process of paraphrasing helps you to understand the material better. The more you do it, the better your reading skills will become. And paraphrasing helps you avoid plagiarism. All right, so we're going to go down right now. And we're going to look here at page 4 of this document, the section that says recognizing effective paraphrases. So we have, we're going to it says first take a look at some examples of what a paraphrase looks like. A good paraphrase uses some combination of all the steps that we're going to practice today in this chapter. We change grammar and vocabulary as much as possible, and we're going to cite the author and express the same meaning as the original passage. So here's an example. Here's our direct quote. This is word for word what appeared in the article. The point isn't just that it's nice to goof off every so often, it's that it's necessary. And that's true even if your ultimate goal is doing better work. Downtime allows the brain to make new connections and better decisions. Multiple studies have found that sustained mental attention without breaks is depleting, and it leads to inferior performance in decision making. And this came from an article or a book by Rob Walker called How to Take a Break. A paraphrase of this quote, so if we were to take this and put it in our own words, we might say, in How to Take a Break, here's the title, Rob Walker argues that taking intentional pauses from work is necessary because it helps people be more creative and productive. He points out that research has shown that we can't maintain focused attention to a task for a very long time, and that if we try to do so, we don't complete the work as well or make good decisions. This is a really good paraphrase because it does these things. A good paraphrase cites the original passage. So up here in this paraphrase, I'm going to make a note here, and this is going to show up on your notes too. Okay. It cites the original passage. So what was the original passage? What was the name of the passage in the paraphrase? Which one? What was the original paraphrase in the passage? Or I'm sorry, the name of the original passage. When we're paraphrasing, what was the original document? The original article, the title. How to Take a Break by Rob Walker. This, and I'm going to put a note, and this is going to pop up in your notes too. This is the original passage. So when we paraphrase, we have to include the original passage. We have to cite the original source. Second thing it does, it accurately expresses the same meaning. This first quotation means the same thing as our paraphrase. We didn't add any new information, and we didn't delete any information from the quotation to the paraphrase. We just stated the words differently. So that's a second thing a paraphrase needs to do. It doesn't leave anything out, and it doesn't add anything in. And third, it uses different grammatical structure and vocabulary choices. So the words that are used we're saying the same thing, but in using just different grammar and different vocabulary in there. All right, so what I want to do right now, we are going to look at an example. Ooh, sorry about that. Here in class. Okay, we're going to look at this original passage number 1. And let me pass out. I'm going to put you guys in groups to talk about this. Okay, so I want, let's see here. Let's do the 4 of you are going to work together, and one person is going to be the note taker. All right, then I want ZZ, Dylan, and JD. You 3 are going to work together. Somebody's going to be the note taker here. So I don't know if you can roll up here. And then the 4 of you are going to work together. And I'm going to leave the note card here for you. Somebody who's going to take notes here. And then we're going to share. You're going to work in your group on coming up with the answer here. And then we're going to share out what your group came up with. So here we go. Here's the question. This is what you're going to do in your group. I want you to look at this original passage number 1. This is a quote, and here's a paraphrase. I want you to tell me if this is a good paraphrase. In order for it to be a good paraphrase, the paraphrase has to check off all 3 of these boxes. Does it accurately cite the source? Does it accurately express the same meaning? So nothing else, nothing new, no new information added, no new information deleted. And does it use different grammar structures and vocabulary choices? So you're looking to see, are the word choices, it's not, copying things word for word, but there's some difference in the grammar and the word choices. So let me read the original passage to you. It says, the artificial confines of the lab experiments lead to a very limited set of observations, insights that may not apply to real life, says experimental psychologist Andrew Liskey of the University of Oxford. And this came from Laura Sanders's article, Smartphones May Be Changing the Way We Think. Is this a good paraphrase? Experimental psychologist Andrew Przliski of the University of Oxford says that the artificial scope of lab experiments leads to a very limited set of observations, insights that may not be used in real life. So I want you to talk with your group right now. You're going to work together here, and I want you to tell me, does that paraphrase check all three boxes? Does it cite the original source? Does it accurately express the same meaning? Nothing new added, nothing new deleted. And does it use enough different words and language, different grammar and vocabulary choices? So I want you to tell me, does it check all those boxes? So somebody, the note taker on your card, you might put a number 1 and tell me which of those three things. So let me give you, let's do 3 minutes to talk. I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. Three minutes to talk. There's our. Yes. So this paraphrase that's up here, where it says paraphrase, that second box. Yep. You're looking at this paraphrase right here. Does this box check? Can you check yes to all these things? Is it a good paraphrase? This is the original quote. Here's the paraphrase. I want you to tell me if it checks those boxes.
Like literally an entire sentence to the very limited set of observations, to the very limited set of observations. It's literally just a copy and paste. I've done this a million times. I've done the same thing. I know your tricks. But it does say the third one. It does say the same thing. 1 out of 3.
See if I can make that a little bit bigger there. About 45 seconds.
Yeah, okay, so the other two, we just put maybe.
Okay, we know for sure it's it says it's the first sentence.
So we're on this piece of paper that says everything.
I don't want to read it.
All right, let's look at this together. Time's up. We're going to take, and I'll put notes. I'll make marks on this sheet, and you have the link to this, so you'll have this after you leave here. So let's start. What did your groups come up with? Do you think this paraphrase, we'll have you raise your hand. If you think the paraphrase cited the original source? Raise your hand. We don't have very, we just have maybe one group here that says it's citing the original source. Okay, so let's take a look at this. What part, first of all, if you think yes, it did, what part of the paraphrase do you think cited the original source?
Don't look at me, I don't wanna answer.
I told you. So you better say it.
No, it's okay. What?
I don't wanna talk.
I'm guessing
You
that
said
you're
because
thinking,
because it mentioned it in the first sentence.
okay, in this first part of the sentence, it talks about Andrew Prisliski from the University of Oxford. So that is kind of tricky because it makes it look like that's the source, right? But did this sentence come from, are these Andrew Prisliski's words? No. Whose words? What's the actual source? The Laura Sanders. Smartphones may be changing the way we think. So this paraphrase does not cite the original source. So I'm going to make a note here. This is no, it doesn't. It's the paraphrase is missing Laura or missing Sanders and title. Okay. Second thing, does this paraphrase accurately express the same meaning? Nothing, no new information added, no new information, or no information taken away. How many people say yes? Yes, this is right. Because we've got up here the artificial confines of lab experiments. Here's the experiments are very limited. They're limited sets of observations, insights that may not be applied or used in real life. We've got that name. So this is just the same sentence. They've just kind of moved pieces around in it. So this is a yes. I'm going to put a note here. This is a yes. No additional information or deleted information. Now, do you think that the paraphrase uses different grammar and vocab, different word choices, or is the word choices and the grammar in our paraphrase too similar to what you see here? Yes, I'm hearing too similar, and that's right. It doesn't use different ones. It's using too much of the same because we're seeing here lab experiments lead to this list, observations, insights that don't apply to real life, limited sets of observations, insights in real life. There's too many similar words in here. The wording of this paraphrase is too close to the original quote. And so this would be plagiarism here. This paraphrase right here would be considered plagiarism because right here, this is a no. There's too many similar words. So this paraphrase is not a good paraphrase. All right, note takers, here we go. You're going to do a second. Your group is going to work together on the second one. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Listen up. The original passage, the original quote is, machines aren't used because they perform some tasks much better than humans, but because in many cases they do a good enough job, while also being cheaper, more predictable, and easier to control than quirky, pesky humans. Technology in the workplace is as much about power and control as it is about productivity and efficiency. And this comes from Zeynep Tufekci's article, "The Machines Are Coming." So is this a good paraphrase for this quote? According to Zeynep Tufekci, author of "The Machines Are Coming," employers don't prefer machines because of their power over humans, but because they perform just enough for the requirement of the boss without complaining and don't require strict management. I want you to look at each of these things and tell me if this is a good paraphrase. Work in your group and tell me, does this paraphrase cite the original source? Does it accurately express the same meaning? And does it use different grammar and vocabulary choices? So let's do 2 minutes. Oh, 2-minute timer. Let me put that up there.
Yeah, plagiarism, not plagiarism. I know my handwriting is really bad. And I'm very utility down, but that is supposed to be plagiarism.
I don't think people do that.
That's literal. I know you can't read very well because if you're small little walnut sized brain. But that's what that's. I know, your tiny walnut brains barely understand. Whatever you have to tell yourself to help you sleep better. Don't lie to yourself like that, Dylan. Mine's not good for you. That's a stick.
Can I answer us?
Yes.
Dylan, you need to be putting this too. For your own safety and the safety of more.
Mine was $800.
That's not my problem.
Okay. Let's take a look. First of all, does the paraphrase cite the original source? Yes, it does. We've got the very first sentence, it says the author's name and the title. So this is a yes. Okay, that's good. Maybe I should have left it yes. All right, yes. Okay, second, is all of the information that's in the original passage, is it in the paraphrase or does it leave anything out?
Yes.
It does act, it's accurate?
Yes. It is accurate, it just slims it down to a single word without dragging it all out. Because it simply says, but because they perform just enough of the requirements of the boss, instead of saying.
Okay, let's check. Let's bring this, let's take this first thing up into chunks here, okay? Yes. Machines aren't used because they perform some tasks better than humans. Is that appear down in the paraphrase? Machines aren't used because they perform some things better than humans.
Yes.
Yes. Employers don't prefer machines because of their power over humans. But because, we've got but because they do a good enough job while also being cheaper. Does it talk about being cheaper down in the paraphrase?
Yes, technically, because it says don't require strict management. Which technically also.
Does management though have anything to do with them being cheaper?
Yes.
No. So there's nothing in there about cheaper, right? So it's close to accurately expressing, but it's missing the phrase there about being cheaper, more predictable, and easier to control. And again, I guess that's requirements of the boss, those three things, but I would say this is right here. This is a no, but just barely. Missing some small details. Okay. What about this? Do you think it uses enough grammar structures and vocabulary choices, or is there too much repeating? Look here in our, it says that they perform just enough. That's good enough. But because they have up here, but because. Yeah, I think there's too much similar grammar structure even in here. Again, this is just barely. So this would still be a no. There are some repeated grammar structures, like but because, just enough, right?
So is it just enough that's the problem, or using the word enough?
Using that word, like, it just makes it
Like,
a little too similar.
what word would you use instead?
You can use, instead of but because, there are other like
Yeah, I know,
conjunctions.
but what about like enough?
Just enough, maybe sufficient, or there are other words, like that's, again, we're gonna look here and see. Sometimes if you're looking for words that mean the same thing, we can use a thesaurus to help us. We're gonna take a look at a thesaurus here. All right, let's do another one. Okay, original quote. The coronavirus crisis instead should be seen as the strongest argument for baby bonds. It has exposed and exacerbated the inequities of life and death in New Jersey and the rest of the nation. This came from the New York Times editorial board, the article "Give Money to Babies." Okay, paraphrase. The coronavirus crisis is a perfect example of why we need the baby bonds program. Many people struggle in life because of the crisis, especially the poor people. Does the paraphrase cite the original source? No, we don't see anything in this paraphrase about the New York Times editorial board or the title of the article. Okay. So this is a no. Yes. Yeah. Does this express the same meaning? Is this the same information? The coronavirus crisis should be seen as a strong argument for baby bonds. So does it explain, like here, strong argument for baby bonds, example of why we need baby bonds? Yeah, that's in there. That's good. It has exposed and exacerbated the inequities of life and death in New Jersey. Inequities means that things aren't equal. So did it expose and exacerbate means to make worse. The inequities of life and death. Does it mention anything about New Jersey down here?
No.
No.
So that means it's not the same.
Does it mention anything about the rest of the nation? No. So this one, it's missing information. It's missing New Jersey and nation, as well as inequities. Does it use different grammatical structures and vocabulary choices? Yes. I'd say that's a yes on that one. It just left some information out. So this one was close. All right, let's look at the last one here. According to Susan Shaheen, policies that promote pooling, vehicle electrification, and better connections to public transit can facilitate a reduced environmental impact from TNCs while building on their mobility and accessibility benefits. Is this a good paraphrase? Susan Shaheen claims that the electrification of automobiles can help protect the environment. First of all, does it cite the original source?
No.
No, it does half of it. It just tells who it came from, but not the name of the article. So this is a no. This is a no. Does it accurately express the same meaning? Does it leave information out? Does it add information it shouldn't have? It leaves information out. So this is a no, because too much information is left out. Okay, and does it use enough grammatical structures and vocabulary choices? Electrification, that probably needs to stay the same. Automobiles, vehicle, so that's different wording. Can help protect. Doesn't have anything really with protecting, well, I guess a reduced environmental impact, help protect the environment. So I would say I'd say this last one's probably a yes. It just is leaving too much information out. Okay. All right. So let's continue talking here for a minute. So as you've learned so far this semester, we've learned annotate needs to take notes, and we annotated our vulnerability as a superpower article. We annotated that. Annotation is an essential step in reading actively and understanding and remembering what you read. When you are tasked with paraphrasing a passage, it's important to try to break down complex ideas so that you can explain them accurately in your own words. Below are the steps to follow to annotate a passage that you want to paraphrase. We've done this already. That was our skimming and annotating checklist. We did that. We know what the topic is, what the author's saying about the topic, what their attitude is about the topic. You mark and look up any unfamiliar words. We did that when we were marking our article up. We looked up grapple. We looked up daunting. You break down complex sentences into smaller chunks. And you use your knowledge of grammar to identify the main idea or the focus of each sentence. We're going to skip over that piece right there. Okay. Dysfunction words. All right. So Once you've carefully, we're going to move to number 4 here. Once you've carefully read and annotated your passage, when we are ready to paraphrase, the first step in paraphrasing is simply to explain what the passage is about, what the main idea is of the passage. And you try to put that in your own words. So we're going to practice paraphrasing main ideas with some proverbs or well-known expressions. Note that because these expressions are common knowledge, we don't need to cite any kind of author. So for example, if I said every cloud has a silver lining, if I wanted to put that in my own words, I would say, there are lots of different ways I could explain the proverb. Here are some examples. Every cloud has its silver lining. What does that mean? Even bad events have something good in them. Always look on the bright side. If it rains, that means flowers will grow. When something negative happens, there's usually something positive in it. So with your group here, again, in your note card, I've got 3 paraphrases or 3 proverbs. I want you with your group, and I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I want you to paraphrase or come up with a sentence that explains what these proverbs mean. Beauty is only skin deep. Never send a boy to do a man's job. And practice makes perfect. So work with your group right now to put in your own words. We'll just make it a 2-minute timer again. Come up with your group, putting into words. So first of all, with number 1, what does beauty is only skin deep mean? Talk with your group and write a sentence out. Beauty is only skin deep. What does it mean? Never send a boy to do a man's job. She's doing a great job. Okay, number 3. Practice makes perfect. All right. Okay, let's talk about this together. Let's do, I'm going to put some notes out here to the side. What does it mean? Beauty is only skin deep. What do you guys have? Okay, so maybe it's not about how you look, but who you are as a person. Okay. What do you all have?
I had beauty is only measured by what you put into it.
Okay. Okay, what did you all have? Okay, what do you think beauty is skin deep, is only skin deep?
Say that louder.
Yes, say it louder.
You can only be as beautiful on the outside as you are on the inside.
Very good. You can only be as beautiful on the outside as you are on the inside. Very good. Okay, so there are multiple ways that you can put that into your own words. Let's do the next one. Never send a boy to do a man's job. I heard Tila come up with a good sentence over there.
Basically, don't send someone to do a big job.
Don't send someone to do a big job if you, or say the last part again, if they can't do it. Okay, what about you guys? What did you have?
I said if someone is not mature enough, they won't be able to handle it.
Okay. They won't be able to handle it. Okay, what about your group?
You can't send someone that's immature to do important tasks.
Okay, you can't send someone that is immature to do an important task. I'd say too, it probably has something to do with preparation. Like, don't send somebody to do a job if you don't think they're prepared or able to do it. Very good. Okay, what about the last one?
Ain't nobody looking at that.
Practice makes perfect. What do you guys have? Group 1 over here. Practice makes perfect. Okay, the more you do something. Okay, hold on. The more you do, I can write multiple ones. The more you do something, the better you are at it. Okay, what was your second one? Perfect practice. Perfect practice makes practice perfect.
Perfect practice, practice perfect.
Okay. Okay, group 2, what do you guys have? How would you restate practice makes perfect?
I said keep trying till you make it.
Okay, keep trying until you make it. Okay. What about this group 3 over here? Yep. If you work on something hard, you will get better. Okay, very good. Okay, so next step, and this is really important. I want you to listen to this part because you're going to need this for Thursday. When you're going to make a paraphrase of something, there are some tips that you can use to help you paraphrase. So if you've got a direct quote and you want to put it in your own words, here are some steps. First tip, use synonyms. Use words that mean the same thing. So synonyms, I'm going to come back up here in our course resources link here and other helpful resources. I've got a link to a thesaurus that you can use to help you find synonyms for words that mean the same thing. So for example, if you've got the word powerful, and you don't want to use the word powerful, it can provide you, this thesaurus can provide you with a list of words that mean the same thing. Controlling, authoritative, commanding, dominant, influential, strong, energetic, mighty, potent, strapping, sturdy. So you can look through, you can use a thesaurus to help you. So on Thursday, when we go and we start to try to paraphrase and do some paraphrasing on our own, we're going to be using a thesaurus to help us with synonyms. Second thing you can do is you can change the form of words. So for example, instead of saying beauty as a noun, you may want to use beautiful or beautifully. So instead of saying his speech showed beauty, you could say his speech was beautiful, or he spoke beautifully. Run. We often see the track team go on a run around our neighborhood. That's a noun. Or you can use run as a verb. We often see the track team run around our neighborhood. Or you could use running as an adjective. We often see the running track team around our neighborhood. So all three of those sentences mean the same thing, except you've used a different form of the word. Let's go down here and we'll just do these as a group or a class together. How could you change these sentences here by changing the word forms? So let's look here. Alex enjoys Alex enjoys photographing their friends and family. How could I change photographing? What would be another form? Photographing here is a verb. How could I change photographing into, say it again? I think you said it. Photography. So we could say, instead of Alex enjoys photographing their friends and family, you could say photography is what? An interest of an interest that Alex enjoys. And that's okay. Or maybe, how about family photography? Is an interest that Alex enjoys. Family and friends photography. So we can change that form here. What about number 2? They find written assignments really challenging. Written here is an adjective. So instead of written, how could I change this word form? Writing. So, and it doesn't mean I have to start the sentence with it, but how could I rephrase this? If we do writing, yeah, we could say they find writing assignments challenging or very challenging. Okay. Christina Hunger has taught her dog to communicate clearly. How could I change communicate clearly? So it's the same word, but just a different form. Clear communication. So we could say Christina Hunger has taught her dog what? Clear communication. In her book, How Stella Learned to Talk, or I'm sorry, her book, How Stella Learned to Talk, is fascinating. I don't want to say fascinating with an ing. her book, How Stella Learned to Talk, is fascinating. Fascination might be another way. We don't want to use an ing at the end.
I'm fascinated about her book, Stella Learns to Talk.
So maybe we do like a past tense. I was fascinated by the book or by her book, How Stella Learned to Talk. So when we change our word forms, that can help us with paraphrasing, okay? So we can use, if we're going to start to paraphrase a sentence, we can use synonyms, we can change word forms, and those will help us make the language different enough where it's our own, like we put it in our own words. You can also modify verbs. So when you modify verbs, instead of, that's changing the tense, like I was fascinated, like make it past tense, or you can, again, change that tense or the verb forms. And then, so that's a third way, looking specifically at the verbs or using a synonym for a verb. The fourth way, the fourth thing you do is you move sentence parts around. So if something that comes at the beginning of a sentence, you can move it to the end. Something that comes at the end of the original sentence, you can move to the beginning. You can swap, you can chunk up your sentence and move those chunks around, and it will help you to paraphrase. And then finally, I think this is the last one. Nope. Yeah, there's two more here. You can use negative forms or opposites. So driving wedges between family and friends can be not getting along with each other. So you can use those opposite forms or negative forms, or you can combine two sentences into one, or you can separate one sentence into two different ones. Okay, I'm going to scroll through here. I think that's good. All right. So we went over paraphrasing here. I want to tell you what your homework is. And I need you to do this before. You're not going to be able to do it here in class, but this is your homework. There are two short videos that I want you to watch. And they have questions that go along with it. There's a video on how to write in your own words, basics, how to paraphrase in an essay. So you're going to watch this video and answer the questions. And then 2.5 is watching and answering how to paraphrase in 5 easy steps. You'll watch this video and answer the questions. These two videos are going to help. It's going to go over what we just did in our notes. It's going to review it just with some other examples and things. When we come back, you do these before you come back to class Thursday. When we come back to class on Thursday, we're going to take sentences from Vulnerability is a Superpower, and we're going to paraphrase them. So you'll be putting into practice, you're going to be doing some paraphrasing. Does anybody have any questions for me? So do 2.4 and 2.5 for homework, and then we'll come back and we'll start our writing a summary. You can bring the card to me before you leave, and then that's it. You guys are free to go. I'll see you Thursday.